It is one thing for a dog to be man's best friend, but a growing number of baby boomers are taking puppy love to a whole new level. Seth Doan looks at this new trend. It's called grandpuppies.
She considers herself the perfect grandma. Never mind that she spoils her little one with trips to, well, PetSmart.
He's such a good boy.
While Denise Delasanti doesn't have any human grandchildren, she has all of a grandmother's love for 7-year-old Hercules.
I just love playing with him and doing things with him. He's not my grandchild, but he's my grandpup.
Yes, she said grandpup. His picture is above her suburban New Jersey fireplace, more prominent than most family wedding photos. And little Herc is hardly just on the mantle.
Do you actually wear this shirt?
Sometimes.
How much do you want grandchildren?
Oh, I want grandchildren.
Do you put pressure on your daughter to have kids?
Oh, yes. Even before she was married, yes.
Wanna go grandma's house?
Her 32-year-old daughter, Diantha, who owns Hercules, is married now, but wants to focus on her teaching career before having kids.
How much pressure does Hercules take off of you when it comes to grandchildren?
If he wasn't here, I don't know how much pressure I would have, because now it's immense. So if he's taking off pressure, God help me.
Nationwide, many like Diantha are waiting longer to have kids. Birth rates for young women are the lowest since the 1940s, when America started keeping track.
Is the role of a dog in a family changing?
Absolutely. Every generation, they seem to become more and more integrated into our lives.
Sarah Wilson, a pet behavioral expert who's written 8 books on the subject, points to another figure that's rising: the 43 million households with dogs.
There are more households now with dogs than there are with children. So people are getting married later, they're having children later, and grandparents are waiting longer to be grandparents. They see the incredible attachment their child has to the dog, and they respond.
Hello. Hi, love.
Harvey and Addie Schneider respond via Skype.
Hey, Stewie.
From their home in Marietta, Georgia. These wannabe grandparents check in with Stewie, a beagle mix, who lives with his daughter in New York City.
Oh, look, her tail's wagging. She's so happy to see Grammy.
In Lake County, California, Norma Wolf encourages the sort of surrogate grandmother role with her daughters Mastiff and Maltese.
They just love you unconditionally, and when you feel bad, they come over and they lick your face.
Sarah Wilson says bonding with dogs even has health benefits.
We get more oxytocin when we touch our dogs, and our dogs get it too. And oxytocin makes us social, friendly, trustworthy, all kinds of good things.
That's him and his grandma.
As if Denise Delasanti needed any scientific proof.
So this is his first Christmas card.
She doesn't see any harm in loving this 6-pound Yorkie so much.
When I have my human grandchild, I'm sure I'll be very excited and do all the wonderful things, but Hercules will still have a special spot.
Guy Fieri has taken the concept of celebrity chef to a whole new level. He owns restaurants all over the country, and you can see him on TV more than 35 hours a week. Well, we took a trip to Midtown and caught up with him at his brand new place in Times Square.
I love your show.
Oh, thank you.
Stroll the streets of New York with Guy Fieri, and you'll realize why he's called a culinary rock star.
What's up, my brother? How you doing, man?
Love it. We love it.
Love you, man. Great show.
Except you'd be hard-pressed to find a rock star as friendly
Nice to meet you.
and relatable
Listen, my mom was from North Carolina.
as Guy, the guy next door.
Where you from?
Upstate New York.
Dig it, brother. I was just up in Syracuse.
His off-the-hook popularity is due mainly to his role as host of the Food Network's most popular show, Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives.
I'm Guy Fieri and we're rolling out.
By crisscrossing the country with his signature saying,
Those are money.
then his spiky blonde hair, he's brought the masses to the heart of America's culinary world. It's a fact he's quite proud of.
These mom and pop joints are what build our young chefs, are what keep our communities fed, are really probably one of the last socially engaging environments that we have in our communities.
And part of the Eagles' legs, everything are made out of beer can labels.
But his latest venture is anything but mom and pop.
I've never seen an American Eagle like that before.
This month, Guy opened his 8th restaurant, Guy's American Bar and Kitchen, in New York's Times Square. And just like his personality, it's big. 500 seats big.
Having fun?
It's more than having fun. It's kind of like if you tell somebody that you're going to Disneyland, but now you own Disneyland. This is New York City, Times Square, mind-blowing.
Like with any new restaurant, the city's elite and often judgmental food critics have been harsh on the chef.
This is the bar snack of bar snacks.
Who is admittedly more Pabst Blue Ribbon than Pinot Noir.
And so when someone came into this restaurant and said they wouldn't serve the food to their cat, how did that make you feel?
Well, they must not like their cat very much. I don't know. You know, I think that, I know what I make. I know how I cook. I know the success of my food. You can't have 8 restaurants and be doing it wrong or that wrong.
The Food Network's Guy Fieri.
Critiques and jokes about Fieri's less than healthy cooking style are nothing new.
And a quarter cup of raisins and 32 tablespoons of tequila-infused garlic butter.
But he handles it all with his signature charm.
I was told there would be no work involved.
Yeah, I was told there's gonna be no tough questions.
And makes no apologies.
I'm not saying don't eat this.
Yeah.
I'm just saying don't eat it every day.
Right.
The reality of it is moderation needs to become a word that we all learn.
Growing up in Northern California, Guy learned about healthy eating early. Raised on mainly tofu by hippie parents, he's been in love with food and the business of food for as long as he can remember. When he was just 10, he had his very own pretzel truck.
My dad helped me build a cart on the back of a 3-wheel bike, and I'd ride, and I would work on the cart. Every day I would come back and do some more work on the cart. And I finally finished the pretzel cart, and my dad says, "What do you want to name it?" 9 years old, 10 years old. What do you name something? Awesome. So it's called the Awesome Pretzel Cart. So I was known as the Awesome Pretzel Kid.
Do you look back and say, wow, I was an entrepreneur at a really early age?
I didn't know that everybody wasn't. I didn't know that everybody wasn't doing that. I just enjoyed it.
And the enthusiasm paid off. By age 37, he already owned 4 successful restaurants and was starting a family when his friends convinced him to apply for a new reality show called The Next Food Network Star.
I arrived in New York, had never been to New York City before. My wife and I were pregnant 8 months with our son Ryder. I'm like, "Are you crazy?" She goes, "I have a feeling you're going to be great at this. You should really try this."
Ladies and gentlemen.
And she was right.
Guy.
He won. And the rest is stuff of reality TV show history. 6 years later, he's hosted 9 shows, and Forbes ranks him as the 10th wealthiest chef, pulling in $8 million last year alone. If you ask his fans, it all boils down to Guy being the right mix of flavor and flair.
Best burger I've ever had in my life.
Best in your life?
If you ask Guy, it's about only one thing.
Food. It's what we all love. I say, you know what, we have trouble getting countries to get along? Let's just have a big cookout. I'll bring some world leaders together. I'll bring the barbecue.
World peace with Guy.
World peace. The namaste meal.
On this Earth Day, our correspondents are fanning out around the globe to bring us stories about our planet's health. Our Earth Matters coverage begins with how deforestation threatens the Amazon rainforest. Vladimir Duthier just spent 3 days deep in the world's largest jungle, with scientists trying to understand the effects of cutting down so many trees. He joins us from a forest just outside Brazil's capital city, Brasilia. Vlad, good morning.
Good morning. For the past 20 years, environmentalists here in Brazil thought they were making progress as the rate of Amazon deforestation slowed way down. But now activists are noticing it's starting to speed up again. Combine that with a newly elected Brazilian president who's openly critical of environmental priorities, and the scientists we spent a week in the jungle with say they're seriously concerned.
A trip to the Amazon is no simple journey, nor one lightly taken. It usually involves multiple flights on planes that get noticeably smaller as the regions get more remote. After another hour in the back of a truck, we're finally here. Tanguru Ranch. This 200,000-acre industrial farm may not be what you imagine as the Amazon, but it sits right up against these massive walls of dense rainforest. In essence, it's the last line of civilization and the front line in the battle against deforestation.
For us, this is a perfect laboratory to work. It's a very large farm. It's half forest and half farmland. So we're able to set up different experiments in both farmland and forest to see what the differences are.
Mike Coe is a soldier in that battle. As the head of the Woods Hole Research Center science station based here at the ranch, his weapons are data.
If you cut down the forest, you're just adding to global warming. You're doing it by increasing the amount of carbon that goes in the atmosphere, and you're doing it by just heating up the surface.
Since the rise of large-scale industrial farming here in the past 50 years, scientists like Coe estimate that almost 20% of the original Amazon has been deforested, cut down to make way for agriculture. To measure the impact of all those lost trees, you've got to get above it all.
This tower allows us to measure how forests are breathing in and out.
And that's where scientist Paolo Brando works.
First thing you notice when you're 130 feet above the Amazon is how breathtaking the view is from up here. But for scientists, it is not about the view. It's about the science.
That tree is probably 3 or 4 tons of carbon that is storing. So they assimilated carbon that otherwise would be in the atmosphere.
What happens if these trees are cut down and that carbon is released into the atmosphere?
This carbon goes into the atmosphere and contribute to heat trapping in the atmosphere.
There's as much carbon captured and stored in all the trees of the Amazon as the amount the entire planet has emitted over the past 10 years. Cut them down, and we effectively double the heat-trapping gases of the past decade. But the trees are more than just carbon containers.
In some regions of the Amazon, about 30% of the rain depends on the trees.
In some parts of the Amazon, it rains because of the trees.
Yes, because of the trees.
They're a key part of the global weather cycle. They soak up water from the soil, it evaporates off the treetops, and creates the life-giving rain that supports millions of people downwind.
I prefer to call it the air conditioner of the earth because all that water rains out somewhere else. So without that recycling of water, you've got a lot less rain, you've got a lot hotter planet.
Coe's data shows that with less trees, the dry season around here has expanded by 3.5 weeks in the past 50 years.
The problem is it's not being reforested. Each year there's more being taken out and there's none being replaced. So that's actually the problem.
Coe and his team may have discovered a solution by relying on the jungle's original inhabitants. Using field data and these remote cameras, the Woods Hole team has learned that large mammals actually are the best fertilizers.
They are great at eating seeds and then dropping them somewhere else.
Tracking those seeds, because those seeds, when they hit the ground, lead to reforestation.
Right. These animals are playing a big role in getting new trees to grow.
Also playing a big role, indigenous human populations who live in the area. With generations of climate knowledge over a huge swath of territory, they're the people most immediately affected by recent droughts and previously unheard of forest fires.
His grandfather recognized that there were changes happening.
Things are changing here, and there would be a pressure squeezing them.
And they might also have some of the answers.
It's going to be really important to engage indigenous people in this whole discussion of how can we make a landscape that works for everyone.
Bonnie Raitt has always loved playing live, but in 2010, she shut down her career. She even stopped touring after her older brother Steve lost his long battle with brain cancer.
This new record was really a joy for me because I needed to take a little break, and I did. I wanted to take a year off after he passed away and just collect myself. My brother's cancer fight was heroic, and he lived another 8 years longer than we expected him to, but when he went, it was rough. So sometimes it's important to just accept that you need to let those feelings out, not cover them up. You took a part of me that I really meant.
Bonnie Raitt spent last year away from the stage, but the blues never left her.
Well, how did you find that year?
Challenging and very necessary and ultimately restorative and, kind of like winter.
So at what point did you suddenly say, you know what, I'm ready to get back?
Part of it was just, I've had enough of this civilian life. I keep asking myself, how long can it go on like this?
Now she's back, and her new album, Slipstream, is earning Raitt some of the best reviews of her career. That's saying a lot for a woman already in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Rolling Stone ranked you among the top 100 singers of all time and the top 100 guitarists of all time.
Very nice.
I don't think there are a lot of people on both of those lists.
At least not the women, anyway. No, they could never love me when they can't even love themselves.
Commercial success came slowly for Raitt. After her first 9 albums failed to break through, the singer was actually dropped by her label in 1983. Were you worried at that point?
No, I was just pissed.
Raitt was also struggling with drug and alcohol problems at the time. But she cleaned up her act, and in 1989 came back with the #1 album, Nick of Time, which won 3 Grammys, including Album of the Year. At age 40, Bonnie Raitt was suddenly a superstar.
When I got the Grammys, it was such an unreal thing. I mean, nobody expected me to win those.
Her follow-up album, Luck of the Draw, won another 3 Grammys. It sold nearly 8 million records and produced her biggest hit. But Raitt understood fame could be fleeting.
I just didn't want that career that was based on a hit single because I, like my dad, I wanted to be slow and steady.
If I loved you. Her father was the legendary Broadway leading man John Raitt, who starred in shows like Oklahoma and Carousel. Bonnie would go to singing school in their swimming pool.
We'd swim together, and I got some quality dad-daughter time alone, and we swam with our heads out of the water. He was like a human jukebox, you know. I would just say, "What about this one?" And he would sing that. And
that's going to be really cool.
It was extremely cool.
Won't you take this advice?
Of all the duets partners I've had, he's the best.
At 62, Raitt's voice, as one critic put it, is still sounding like the sonic equivalent of a glass of Southern Comfort. And the redhead can still break your heart with a ballad.
Know that I need your love. You got that hold over me.
I feel like that's what I'm supposed to do is sing about those places that are so painful. And in order to make it real for people, you got to go there.
Why do you feel like that's one of the things you need to do? Or you're supposed to do?
Well, because I just went from the time I was a little girl, Since I Fell for You, I was 11. I mean, that song just pierced me. And people go, how could you have your heart breaking at 11 or 12? I don't know, it's just that stuff goes in there.
You said in one of your songs that Nick of Time, the road is my middle name.
Yeah.
Is it still?
Considering how much, I shouldn't say this, but I am happier out here I love my life at home, but it's more fun out here.
And of all the great moments you've had, you have a favorite?
Oh, I don't know. There's so many. Every time I step out on that stage, every time is new. That hasn't lost any of the thrill.
Past decade, extreme sports and the athletes who engage in them have become much more popular. The people who film their superhuman feats are also worth watching, as Jeff Glor found out. Jeff, good morning.
Charlie, good morning to you. The company is called Sender Films, a couple guys who turned their passion for climbing and adventure into a business. By now, a successful one. If you're not standing on top of the world, this is the next best thing. The footage can be hard to watch. It's even harder to turn away. Human beings doing things at extreme altitudes that have never been done before.
Crazy stuff.
Climbing mountains without ropes. Death-defying free falls in wingsuits. Just as impressive, the photographers who take risks right along with them.
In some ways, our job is easy. If we can do it safely and get into position, all we have to do is hold the camera, turn it on, and there's magic unfolding.
Pete Mortimer runs Sender Films out of this modest carriage house in Boulder, Colorado. But his real office is here. Places others can't or won't go. Sender's Films documenting free solo climber Alex Honnold. And slackliner Sketchy Andy brought those two international fame. Honnold was profiled on 60 Minutes. Andy performed at the Super Bowl halftime show. In Colorado's famed El Dorado Canyon, Mortimer was more than happy to show us how he creates these films. You want me to dangle from where?
I want to get you to the very top of the Bastille and get you dangling off the cliff so you get to see the world from our perspective.
All right. Easier said than done. First, we had to climb up there.
How's that going, Jeff?
These are definitely not climbing shoes.
Obviously, we're here to do a shoot, but in front of that is at all times safety.
High above the canyon floor, with wind gusts up to 40 miles an hour, it was time to descend nearly 100 feet.
Welcome to our office.
I've never done an interview off the side of a mountain before.
All right, yeah.
What are the biggest challenges you face?
The climbs that these guys are doing now, the cutting edge of climbing, has gotten so far out there. And so for us to get into position, it's a bigger challenge. And then visually, we want to shoot things in a new way. We never want to climb to look like something we did last year or the year before.
Mortimer does all this by working with the smallest and lightest equipment available. Multiple cameras are a must. For our shoot, he had 4 cameras rolling.
Does that look okay?
All of his shooters are experienced climbers, and the climbing pros, like Matt Siegel, are the best in the world. What is it like working with these guys?
It's super fun. You know, I've gone out and shot with these guys all over the world.
Is it more difficult to focus when a camera's in your face?
Not really.
There's a trust factor.
When you're having somebody above you, you definitely want to know that they're not going to drop anything on you, that they're safe.
Mortimer and the rest of the crew were working flawlessly until something went wrong. It happened in an instant. Slow down, you can see the rock fall. Mortimer's safety line almost slipped off the rock face. That means he would have fallen too.
I'm going to just lower myself off this edge.
There was a close call.
Yeah.
This afternoon.
Yeah, I've probably been on the Bastille Formation 1,000 times in my life. Definitely, like, just an instantaneous reminder that, like, even on a fun day out there with friends and a film crew, like, it is dangerous what we do.
Accidents are something Mortimer's partner, Nick Rosen, knows all about. You broke your neck and your back.
I did. Here I am, the jerk with the neck brace on.
Rosen's broken back and neck happened in a climbing accident only 3 weeks before we arrived. And those risks weigh even more heavily on Mortimer now. He's married with a 2-year-old daughter and another child on the way.
I think I'm probably just that much more cautious when I'm up there.
Do you worry about the danger?
I think Pete's been doing this since before I met him, since before we got together. I think if I were to worry, I'd be worrying all the time, so I sort of turn off that part of my brain.
But if danger is part of the equation, so too is the passion to capture the perfect image.
We think when people go out there and, you know, push their limits and really, like, redefine the possibilities of what humans can do, that's inspirational.
Wow, I could shoot that all day.
So the question is, what was the most exciting thing about this experience?
I mean, you're certainly dangling off the cliff there was exciting, but at least you're on a rope there. I thought the more tenuous part was just climbing up the actual mountain, getting up there. I was really amazed at, you know, I heard someone say these guys just have a different relationship with fear.
Yeah.
And they do. I mean, they're bounding around on cliffs here or on platforms that are exposed. One wrong step and you're gone. Mm-hmm. And they're doing it like they're walking across the living room.
But is it because of skill and experience that they have a different relationship, or because they have a mindset that's part of their DNA?
And that's a great question. I asked that exact question of them, and they said some people learn just to tamp that fear down with repetition, and some people are just born without it.
The photography is incredible. What do they do? Movies and all kinds of stuff?
Movies, films, DVDs. They have this film festival now, which is in 400 spots around the world,
Wow.
and which is getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
So people want to see it.
Oh yeah,
Including me.
Yeah, extreme
There
sports.
you go.
What will we see you off the side of the
No,
mountain?
but you'll see me looking at the film, though. I mean, I asked him I would do it, but
All right,
It's very exciting stuff. We'll take you.
Jeff Glor, thank you.
thank you.